Welcome to our bonus episode for the Eldritch Moon Sealed Deck Week. So, just to give you an idea of my process, this is what my sealed deck pool looks like at the end of opening. This is the mana curve, so 1 drops, 2 drops, 3 drops, 4 drops, and 5 drops. You'll see that I put the emerge creatures at the 4 drop slot because that is the earliest you could play them. They may actually be 5 drops or something later. Then I put, here's our instants, sorceries, and auras, artifact, here's my foil forest, and enchantments. So I like to do this because I can see at a glance how each color's curve would play out. So you see we only have 1 drops at green. Then here's our green 2 drops, 3 drops, 2 4 drops, and nothing else. In the back here is the colorless, so Field Creeper is colorless, and Geist Fueled Scarecrow, those are our 2 artifact creatures. As I look at this, the most important drops in any limited event is 2 drops, or I count 1 drops as 2 drops as well, just because they're kind of rare that you want to put one in your deck. In this case, we definitely do. So what I look at first is that black is really weak on the 2 drops. It only has Graph Rats, and Graph Rats is essentially unplayable. It's a 2/1 for 2, and we have no upside of melding it with the Midnight Scavengers because we didn't get that card. So that's got the weakest 2 drop. I mean, literally only 1. Green actually is the best because it has 2 2-drops as well as the 4 1-drops, so you have lots of options. Red and white are good. Blue is on the low side as well. So blue is probably out just because there's no early support. It does have 2 3-drops and these 4 drops here. There's 2 emerge cards though that are in there. So basically after doing this, I can tell you that our best option really is going to be green black because of the lots of 2 drops in green, not really in black, but then we have 2 black 3 drops and a green 3 drop, which are all playable. Although Skursdad Supplicant might not go in. Then we have pretty good 4 drops. Gavany Unhallowed, 2 of those, as well as the Abundant Maw and especially Distended Mindbender. And then green has 2 solid 4 drops as well. There's nothing on the high end in green or black except for the emerge creatures. I'm fine with that. So I'm leaning towards green, black for the creature base. And that, I think, makes sense. Now I'm going to sit down and we'll kind of build this thing out. You got to see a little bit of my feet there. Sorry about that. Okay, so then we look at our instance. That's what I feel like is the next most important after creatures. So here we have our 3 grapple with the past. We want those in the deck, for sure. Those are going to help us with delirium. Those are going to make us happy inside. And our opponents tremble with fear. Clear Shot is a very good combat trick, so I'm leaning towards keeping that in. It also is another instant to help with the graveyard. Waxing Moon is on the cusp. I'm not sure we want to play it. We do have 3 green werewolves that we might want to transform. Let's just take a look at those real quick. So we've got our Uvenwald Captive. Great 2-drop. It pumps up your mana base. And if you transform it, it's a 4/6. And for a 2-drop to turn into a 4/6 that adds 2 colorless to your mana pool, that's great. And if we can transform that, even on turn 3, you could transform that thing. Because you play this on turn 2, and then on turn 3, if you have your Waxing Moon, you can play that next. Then you've got a 4/6 that's ramping you. That's going to help you get out your emerge creatures. The problem is you can't sacrifice this to an emerge creature because this has 0 converted mana cost. Well, you can. You could still just pay the full emerge cost. So, but Waxing Moon it's not like absolutely necessary in the deck, but it would be nice to have another instant to help with the graveyard. but we already have 4. Spring Sage Ritual is a sideboard card at best. We're going to skip past blue and white, and there are no black instants. So then we move on to sorceries. I feel like that's what you look at next. Eldritch Evolution is a good card in this deck, I think. If you put out any number of 2-drops, especially the Primal Druid or the Field Creeper, either of those you're happy to sacrifice. The Primal Druid gives you a basic land when you sacrifice it. The Field Creeper puts an artifact creature in your graveyard. So if you can do that, then on turn 3 you've got 3 cards towards, or 3 types in your graveyard towards Delirium. The artifact creature you sacrificed and this sorcery. So if you sacrifice a 2-drop, good 4-drops to grab. We've got our Tangleclaw Werewolf and the Backwoods Survivalist. We also have 2 Gavany Unhallowed or a Geistfield Scarecrow. Those are all good 4-drops to grab. You could sacrifice a 1-drop. I wouldn't sacrifice the Gnarlwood Dryad to this. Maybe the Permeating Mass, if we put that in our deck. Not sure yet. So 1-drops aren't great targets for this. 3-drops, I wouldn't mind sacrificing like the Thraben Foulbloods, maybe, because that can get you... Actually, there's no 5-drops in red and green or black, so you don't want to sacrifice a 3-drop. There's no 6-drops to sacrifice to go pull out Distended Mindbender or Abundant Maw. So really, your only targets are 2-drops. So now I'm actually wondering, do we want Eldritch Evolution in? I still lean towards maybe. That's a maybe. We'll see. Hey, there's my arm. Here's Splendid Reclamation. So here's a weird one that we might put in. 4 mana to put all the land in your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. I'm not sure what the benefit really is in this deck to do that. You'll lose the land as a type in your graveyard for Delirium. That could hurt you. It does ramp your land, but we already have other ways to ramp our land with the Primal Druid and the Ulvenwald Captive. So this is, I'm leaning towards no. I'll set it to the side as a maybe. Then we don't have much else in the sorceries. This makes me a little nervous. So far we have Eldritch Evolution as a maybe, Splendid Reclamation as a probably not, Cemetery Recruitment is a probably. So you return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That's any creature card. Our graveyard's going to have stuff in it. Then if it's a zombie card, draw a card. So with zombies we have Thraben Foulbloods and 2 Gavany Unhallowed. So we only have 3 zombies, but it is possible we could grab one. So I would say that this is playable. So I'm going to put this in our playable pile. So when it comes to instants and sorceries, we have, my count is 4 instants that we're calling playable, and 1 sorcery for sure. So that's a 5, and I think that's fairly good, but for Delirium, I'm nervous there's only 1 sorcery we put in so far. Here's our auras. Wolfkin Bond is a fine aura. I've played it in Limited. It's kind of expensive, but it's nice you get the wolf token. Not sure we're going to put it in, though. What? Maybe. The good auras we want to consider, Strange Augmentation's fine. For Delirium, you get 1 mana to give a creature +3/+3. The 2 we definitely want are Boon of Emrakul. These are going to guarantee go in your graveyard right away when you play them, and probably remove their 2-drop, maybe even their 3-drops. So we're going to put both of these in. Okay? Will you allow it? That's good. So now we're looking at 7 cards that are not creatures in our deck so far. Strange Augmentation I'll put as a maybe, as well as Wolfkin Bond as a probably not, but maybe. The rest don't matter. Let's look at our enchantments that aren't auras. Crop Sigil I'm thinking is yes. So at the beginning of your upkeep, put the top card of your library into your graveyard. You may do that. Then when you've got Delirium, pay 3, sacrifice the Crop Sigil, return a creature card and up to 1 land from your graveyard to your hand. You can only do that if you have Delirium. So that's a probably. I'm going to stick that in the probablys. My pile over here is getting a little unorganized. That's all we've got for... Oh, actually, we've got a black Graph Harvest. That's not going to make the cut. We don't have room for it. I wouldn't mind it if we were more of a zombie-heavy deck. But I don't really want to be exiling creature cards from the graveyard. We need them in there. Terrarian. I actually think we should put this in. Basically, you do get to draw a card when you sacrifice it, but guess what? No, it has to be from the battlefield. So if you play this or not, even if you don't play it, it's an artifact in your graveyard if you can get it in with Grapple with the Past or something like that. So we're really counting on Grapple with the Past. We're counting on Crop Sigil, and that's about it for what we want to be milling ourselves into the graveyard. The other stuff we're going to use is Boon of Emrakul is going to put an enchantment in. Sorry, I'm pulling all these up as we talk. So here's our what I call the definitely playables that aren't creatures. Crop Sigil, Grapple with the Past, 3 of those, Clear Shot, Boon of Emrakul, Cemetery Recruitment, and Terrarian. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we want probably 23 cards. We've got 9, so that leaves us 14 creatures. Let's go ahead and say the Gnarlwood Dryads have to go in. Okay, the Permeating Mass is a maybe. It could cause some problems. What you don't want is your Distended Mindbender to turn into a 1/3 spirit, Permeating Mass. So we've got 2 Gnarlwood Dryads. I think both of these go in. Ulvenwald Captive Primal Druid. So now we're looking at 4 creatures out of the... How many did I say we needed? We have 9 that aren't creatures. We want 23 total. So we've got 14 creatures to put in. Oh, we might be hard-pressed to find those. Field Creeper. That's going in. I think it has to. Graph Rats is a maybe. Shrill Howler. I think that goes in. So creatures with power less than Shrill Howler can't block it. So a little 1/1 cannot kill this, or a 2/2. A 3 power creature is the best they can do to kill this thing, and then you'll probably kill that as well. If we put in our Waxing Moon and transform this thing easily, we get a 3/5 that says the same thing. Creatures with power less than Howling Chorus cannot block it. It's kind of weird, but whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get a 3/2 Eldrazi Horror creature token. But really, we just want a 3-drop that will go in our curve. I say Thraven Foulbloods goes in. I am nervous about the Skursdag Supplicant. Do we put that in? It's a 3-mana 2/3, so it's not bad in terms of stats. But do we really want to be discard? Well, we do want to discard cards, but do we want to lose 2 life? That's the question. I'm going to keep it in for now, because it is a discard outlet that helps us. So that gives us 8 creatures. So we're on our way to our 14. We may go under 14 if we can't find playable ones. Tangleclaw, Werewolf, and Backwoods Survivalist, both playable. And we actually do want 4-drops. Let's see. The 4-drops is where the majority of our cards are coming from. Which is kind of scary. Distended Mindbender has to go in. I call this a 4-drop because you can sacrifice your 3-drop and then you pay 2 black to get this out. And if you can do that on turn 4, I say do it. We're putting this in. Abundant Maw is a maybe. If you sacrifice your 3-drop, you're paying 3 and a black, then opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life. It's fairly good, and then you get a 6/4 on the battlefield. I'm happy with that. Gavony Unhallowed are both good, especially when you're sacrificing creatures to emerge. Your creatures are going to die, you get +1 counters on these. So I like these. The Geistfield Scarecrow I lean towards putting in simply because you want an artifact creature in your Delirium deck. I know we have the Field Creeper, but this helps. And after turn 4, your creature spells costing 1 more is not that big of a detriment in this deck. since we don't really have 5 drops, so you should be fine. I say that's playable. So, what's our creature base look like? We'll start with our Gnarlwood Dryads. We've got 2 of those, so 2 1-drops, 2 3 2-drops, so that's 5 that are 1 or 2 drops. That's a pretty good number. Then we've got our 3 3-drops, Shrill Howler, Thraben Foulbloods, Skursdad Supplicant. Then we've got lots of late game 4-drops or more. Tangleclaw, Backwoods Survivalist, Geistfield, Scarecrow, Gavony Unhallowed, and our bomb is Distended Mindbender. Let's see what we've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we've actually got 1 more creature than we want. So what do you cut? Definitely not the low end. I would say not this middle end either, or mid-range stuff. These both go in, I think. Geistfield Scarecrow needs to go in. I don't know, I'm leaning towards Abundant Maw being taken out. So let's take that out. I might be wrong, you tell me. So guess what? Now we've got a deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So we do not have room. I don't think we take out anything for even putting in an Eldritch Evolution. Good card, but we only have, we don't want to sacrifice the Gnarlwood Dryads. So we really only have these 3 targets for Eldritch Evolution. And I just don't see that coming together often enough. Since we have no 5-drops, the only ones we want to sacrifice are 2-drops. And that really only gets us out like the Tangleclaw Werewolf, the Backwood Survivalist, Geistfuel, or one of these. I just don't think that's coming together. I'd rather have the 2-drops. And they're good targets. Our 2-drops are good targets for Emerge. Because Primal Druid gives you a basic land, Field Creeper puts the artifact creature in your graveyard. I've said that already. So I say we keep out the Waxing Moon that we talked about, we keep out the Strange Augmentation, and this is our deck. So when you're at this point, you guys know what to do. You figure out your land base. As you can see, this is predominantly green with some black, so you've got 17 lands to put in. I would say, we do have a little ramp. Normally I'd do some math. I'm not going to do the math for you on the show. But, you usually want, say, 8, probably 8 green or 9 green, and then 6 or 7 black. How do you feel about this deck? I think if we played with this deck, we would win quite a bit. The plan for the deck is probably turn 1 Gnarlwood Dryad. Turn 2, you either want one of these creatures or your Grapple with the Past. You want Delirium to turn on as soon as possible. So Grapple with the Past is a good choice. And that way you can also fix your mana a little or get a creature that you really need. And then turn 3, you can start putting out your 3-drops like the Thraben Foulbloods or Shrill Howler, or even just put out your 2-drops, Ulvenwald Captive, Primal Druid. By turn 4, if you have Distended Mindbender, then you cast that, if you can. You do need 2 blacks, so that might not have happened yet. And you sacrifice a 3-drop. If you can't play that on turn 4, then one of these other creatures that's 4 is fine. And then you just run away with it from there. Turn 3, you may be playing enchantments, so you might not have a 3-drop to put out. I don't know, what do you think? I think there's a few ways to win with this. Obviously, once you can definitely prevent a lot of damage early with these Gnarlwood Dryads, preventing people from wanting to attack. I don't know, this is the deck, I think it's good. What do you guys think? Tell me about it in the comments to the show, on the Instagram page, on Facebook. We need more people on the Facebook page. No one's over there. Get over there, join the Facebook group. It's Stifu MTG. Stifu's Pack-A-Day Show is the name of the Stifu's Magic Pack-A-Day Show is the name of the group. Come join us over there and talk about this. All right. Thanks for bearing with me. 20-minute video. Last time I did the sealed deck, I just showed you the final product. This one I felt like we could talk through, and that was fun. So I'll talk to you next time. Tomorrow we'll start going through our, what's it called? Actually, we might have already started this. I'm not sure if I'll post this the day of or after. Anyway, so we're going to go back to Magic Origins and finish that box. Okay, bye.